yep, we're going to go through and pick what we can, and then I'll go inside and show you how we're going to can these. Welcome to my new videos on gardening and canning. Come along with me on my gardening journey. Alright, we are getting towards the end of the season. Got a lot of peaches that have fallen on the ground. Of course, I don't want to pick the ones that have been eaten. Of course, we got some bees here, so you gotta be careful where you're putting your hands. I'll go ahead and put these in my basket, collect as much as I can, and then we're gonna go inside and I'll show you how to can peaches. Okay, we're gonna start off by blanching our peaches in hot water and then an ice bath so that we can take the skins off. If you have peaches that aren't quite ripe, you'll want to blanch them for about a minute. If they're really ripe, maybe only about 30 seconds. So we've got our peaches in here. I usually only do a couple at a time as I am working. At the same time, my jars are inside my oven at 225 for 20 minutes to sterilize. I have got a little station set up here, which I'll explain in a minute. So these would probably have been in close to a minute. I don't really set a timer because it's a lot of back and forth. Kind of wastes time. I just kind of gauge it. Let them stay in there a minute, and then I take them out, and I'm going to place them in my bath. These two have been sitting in there a minute, so I'm going to take them out, and this makes it super simple to peel. Alright, now that I got two hands, you can see it's very easy to peel. You want to be very careful that you're not, damaging the flesh here. Of course, make sure your hands are washed and you've got a clean workspace. Once you get the skin off, we got another piece there. You're going to go ahead and cut them to remove the pits. So I just cut around like that, stick my finger in the end and separate until I have two pieces. And then I'll cut these in half or in thirds and place them in my ice bath over here. That has some lemon juice in there. Sometimes when these are not very ripe, it's a little harder to get the pits out, and sometimes it damages the flesh a little bit, so you need to be careful. You may be asking, well, if you're going to go ahead and use peaches that aren't quite ripe, are they going to taste good? And the answer is yes, because we are going to then cook these for 5 to 10 minutes in a sugar solution. So, and then we're going to can with that same sugar solution. They will absorb all of that sugar and be quite sweet. The ones that I don't want to can, if they get damaged, I'll save off to the side, and that's what I'll make my jam with. Because when you have them in the jars, you want them to look as uniform as possible and pretty. These ones are for me. I'm not giving them as gifts, so I don't care if the flesh is a little ragged and jagged. So again, I'm taking my peaches out of the hot water, putting them over in my water bath, letting them sit for a minute, and then putting, if you can see, more peaches. I like to just do 2 at a time in my hot water. Let's go over the steps one more time. So as I am blanching these and taking the skins off and cutting them, getting them ready for my jars, I do put 5.5 cups of water with 1.5 cups of sugar and start getting that warm, because that's what we are going to be putting all of these pieces in to cook for just a little bit before we put them in our cans. And then also, while I'm doing all of this, I've got my Waterbath canner getting ready, starting to boil. I'm actually going to turn this down because I'm not quite ready to put my jars in yet. My jars in the oven are ready to come out. So I've got 7 jars out because these are pints. That's what will fit in my Waterbath canner. I do prefer the ones with the wide mouth for things like this. It's a little easier getting them in and out, but I do have an assortment of both the narrow and the wide mouth. I'm going to let them sit here for a minute, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the peaches that I've peeled, and we're going to go ahead and put them inside our water and sugar solution. Alright, so I've got my sugar and water solution here that is boiling. Again, it's 5.5 cups water with 1.5 cups of sugar. I'm going to go ahead and place my peaches in there, and we are going to cook for 5 to 10 minutes. The more ripe the peaches are, the less time I'm going to cook them, because I don't want them to get mushy. I'm going to put all these in here. I didn't weigh these. I probably had a good 5 to 6 pounds of peaches. I had various sized peaches. So we're going to put these in here. We're going to bring this solution back to a boil. A couple more little pieces in there. And we're going to give these a stir. Bring it back to a boil. Then I'm going to be ready to pack my jars. Wow, if you guys could smell this through the video. Oh my gosh, the house smells amazing. Anyways, this is a hot pack method. That's why we're putting the peaches in the boiling solution, the sugar solution, and then we're going to pack them hot in. The jars are still warm from the oven, and then immediately put them into our boiling water in our water bath. This is just one of the many methods to can peaches. So these are ready. They've been in there for about 5 minutes. I have my little funnel here to help me get them packed. You want to go ahead and try to be as neat as possible so I don't drip all over. You're going to pack your jars. Again, this is why I like having the wide mouth jars, a little easier to get the peaches in there. And you want to make sure that you're going to leave a little bit of headspace, about 1/2 inch of headspace. I'm going to put another couple pieces in here with a little more of the sugar solution. So basically it's going to get it right up to about where the round part, I don't know what you call this part of the jar, the threading part of the jar. Alright, so we're going to get these in here while they're still nice and hot. We need a little more juice in that one. Alright, so I ended up being able to pack 7 pints with my peaches and the sugar water solution. Used absolutely everything, so nothing's left in my pot. Want to go ahead and pack everything down. Now I don't have, there is a fancy little plastic tool to debubble and pack, but I can't find mine at the moment. You do want to use plastic, not metal, because it can cause a chemical reaction. So I'm just going to go through and pack my peaches down and get the air out. Another thing you can do is gently, whew, those are hot, tap your jars to try to get any water, air bubbles, sorry, that's hiding, get it to come back up to the top. That way you know that you've got your 1/2 inch, because sometimes after debubbling, your actual solution will lower, and then you have more than the half space, which is a little bit much. And to make sure you're canning these properly, you don't want to have too much head space, and you want to make sure you have the 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to move the peaches around, press them down on all of these, go around the outside. When you have that little tool, it's designed to just go right around the outside like that. The bad thing about them, I guess I can order one separately on like Amazon, but they usually come in like a box set. And so somehow, I don't know, I might have lent it to somebody. It also has a little magnet on the end to help pick up all your lids. So there I have debubbled. I'm just going to give some taps, make sure. So as you can see, a couple of these have a little bit more room now up at the top. So what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to wash my funnel back off because I already put it in my soapy water in the sink. But I got a couple here. I got just a hair more of that solution, water, sugar solution. I'm going to put in here just to give me that little bit more. That one jar is definitely below the 1/2. There we go. So now what we're going to do is to make sure that our lids will seal properly. I'm going to take a paper towel, you can use a cloth, I'm going to wet it, and then I am going to clean the tops of my jars. I want to make sure that there's no sugar solution, because if that is on there, or any chunks of peaches, that will hinder the sealing process of the lids, and then that is going to make maybe where you've got bacteria that'll get introduced in there if there's not a good seal over time, especially if you keep your stuff for a year. You don't want to open something up and find out that it is bad, and of course you don't want to get sick. Now, the new guidelines for the lids, it used to be that you had to boil these in water with your rings, but they're saying now you don't have to do that. These are brand new. I did put them in some water to clean them off, and they've just been sitting here getting ready to go on. Again, this is where that debubbler that has the little magnet is nice. Then we're going to go ahead and put our rings on, and we just want to make them just finger tight. Don't have to be any tighter than that. So as you can see, these aren't as, perfect and uniform looking. They eat just the same. They taste just the same. I try to be as careful as possible. But peaches are hard. Peaches is probably, to me, the hardest thing to can, just because it's time consuming to get the skins off, and it's not very easy, and they're slippy. Alright, so I have them in there. Now I have to wait and bring this back to a boil. But as you can see, there's probably 1.5 inches of water on top of my jars. I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on and let that come to a boil. Alrighty, so My water bath, woo, that's hot, has come to a boil. So I am going to go ahead and set my timer. For me, at my altitude, I'm going to do 35 minutes. So it depends on where you live as far as your elevation. We here are almost at 5,000 feet, so for pints I'm going to do 35 minutes, but you can just Google and look that up online depending on your altitude. And again, it's depending on if you have pint or quart size jars. Alrighty, my timer is done. I'm going to go ahead and get a mitt on. Okay, I'm going to open away from me because it's going to be hot and boiling. I'm going to go ahead and turn my burner off. Now we're going to let these sit in here. I'm actually going to move my pot off of the heat to the other side of my stove. I'm going to let them sit in here for 5 or 10 minutes before I take them out. I just don't want to shock them by taking them out right away and taking a chance of the glass breaking. So I'm going to let these sit for a minute. Well, actually 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, these have been sitting long enough. I'm going to go ahead and take them out. Once you get them out, they need to sit for 24 hours. Then you'll take the rings off. You don't want to store them with the rings on, because if there was any bacteria to build up, you want the tops to be able to pop off. Really do that with the rings on there. And get these all out. Now, look pretty good. Happy with how those turned out. These are going to be really yummy to put on this winter on pancakes or on ice cream. So we're going to let these sit. And yeah, there's the finished product. I'll put some recipes in the description below. And please like and subscribe. I'll be making more videos as I'm getting more produce out of my garden.